Audio sounds good. All right, I think hopefully my audio is there. I'm not sure. I've got my Sennheiser going. Oh boy. Am I live? I don't know. I think I'm live. Oh, there we go. All right, so it sounds like looks like my audio is okay. And looks like I'm picking up. So um, welcome to another today's Tech Tuesday. Jeez, oh man. I just wanted to make sure that all of you out there were aware that we're going to be live today with Rudy Garza. So Rudy Garza, CEO of the Independent Alliance for the Electrical Industry, the IAEI, and we're going to be live today. Today's Tuesday. It's Tech Tuesday, and my basement is a mess. I had a great discussion yesterday with Brad Nana from Iris. And Iris makes some really cool products, basically, that help us get visibility into the equipment for infrared scanning and all that jazz. So hopefully you're going to stick around for the last week of May, which is Shock Week, where we are going to be talking about that. I just have to lower my volume a little bit, I think. I'm not sure if I'm blowing everybody out. I don't even know if I'm online or at all. Anyway, keep in mind today's Tech Tuesday. IAEI News Live is today, 12 o'clock Eastern. I will have Mr. Rudy Garza online with me, and we are going to be talking about some key things around IAEI. 2024 was a big year for the IAEI, and we are going to talk about some of the big changes that have occurred. This is your opportunity to ask questions and all that jazz. What else is going on? Had some really interesting discussions around load calculations. There was a recent change in the 2026 code cycle. Here's the discussion. When we do a load calculation, do we consider loads as continuous or non-continuous? Do we add the 1.25, the 125%, to our load calculation? So I thought I knew what the answer was. Honestly, I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. It's a load calculation. The only reason we add 25% is for when we size for continuous loads, okay? The only reason that we add 125% to a current on a conductor is to pick a conductor that is a little larger, right? And because of the continuous load, I add 125% to my current that I'm drawing on my load. Then I select my conductor size. Now, I don't just select my conductor size. I got a code book. I have a code book. I am all discombobulated here. I don't know where my code book is. Well, I know where my code book is. It's right here on my... I just heard something fall in the background. It's right here on my iPad because I go to NFPA link. I go to NFPA link and I pick it up. But you have to log in and you have to do the old facial recognition thing when you're on an iPad. Oh, try face again. You know, my cameras at the house may think I'm a stranger, but because I'm rarely here. But my iPad knows exactly who I am. Now, here was the discussion. And if you look at, say, 215, Article 215, and you're determining the minimum ampacity, that would be section, I'm looking at the 2023 code, and I believe that is 215.2. So what it tells us is feeder conductors have to have an ampacity not less than the larger of A1 or A2. And in A1, we do the continuous and the non-continuous loads. This is where we add our 125%. And then we determine the size of the conductor based upon 125%, but not on the conditions of use. And then in A2, we say we do the ampacity adjustment or correction factors. Without, now that's the conditions of use, but we don't include the 125%. And then whichever is larger, right? Whichever is larger, how do I get to my channel on YouTube? Am I live on my YouTube channel? Let me go to YouTube Studio. Content. I don't think I'm on my YouTube channel. So whichever is larger, right? So just give me a second here. Yeah, I am. Okay. So here's the thing. I do this calculation, and whichever yields the larger of the conductors size, then that is what I use and then I select my conductor size, and then I select my overcurrent protective device. Now, in 215.3 for feeders tells us that where a feeder supplies continuous loads or any combination of continuous or non-continuous loads, the rating of the overcurrent protective device cannot be less than the non-continuous load plus 125% of the continuous load. So even though you're doing the in 215.2 determining the minimum rating and size of a conductor by doing 125% and then not doing the 125% and then doing the conditions of use, selecting the largest conductor size, you still have to make sure that your overcurrent protective device is not less than the non-continuous load plus 125% of the continuous load. So, and the reason we do that is because of the heat. It's how we test overcurrent devices in assemblies. We have to pass a heat rise test. And the heat rise test is what drives the need for the larger conductor. That's that 125%. It's not because the conductor can't handle the continuous current. The ampacity values in the table in 310, in Article 310, tells you what the conductor can handle 24/7, 365, twice on Sunday, every day of the week. That's what the table in Article 310 tells us. Now, the The other thing we have to, so hey, Nihad, how's it going, buddy? Almost missed you live. So how's the audio, Nihad? So how's the audio? Just want to check my audio. I didn't have a chance. I couldn't do this. I'm doing this in a different. I'm using the Restream item, the Restream app online. So I didn't get check. I didn't get a chance to check the audio. And what we're talking about, Nihad, is we did a change on panel 2. So you're a panel 2 member as well. We did a change that said that the load calculation, I'm going to get the exact language from our change. So bear with me. I'm going to go to NFPA link. I need to close a couple windows here. Close that. Close that. Audio's pretty good. I'm loud and clear. All right, perfect. And I'm not sure if the audio was coming from if my audio was coming from the I can edit my name. Oh, I'm not showing my name either. If I go to design, it's not there. I'm just learning. There's QR codes. What's the QR code? Check out, look at this. Check out my website. And you can use your camera to see this. That's kind of cool. I can display, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button. There we go. Welcome to TD Unplugged. All right, so here's what we were talking about, Nihad. When I go to 70 next and I go to TerraView, and you have to spell NEXT. When I go to 70 next in TerraView, next edition, we made a change in 220.5, and I was looking at, and I'm questioning, I'm thinking we did something wrong there. Or maybe we didn't do something wrong, because I don't necessarily technically disagree with the statement. 220.5e talks about the percent multiplier. I got to get that, take that off. 220.5e talks about the percent multiplier. Oh yeah, Nihad, I'm still using Restream. I'm not using my OBS software. I'm streaming out directly to Restream. They have an app, and then watch. I can show your question. So, are you using the new a new streaming app? And the answer to that is I'm using Restream.io, which is the program, the website that I use to stream to multiple sites. You can stream from OBS from your computer to a URL, which is this, and then it separates it. Or you go to open their web page, and there's a group. I can invite you, so I can invite a guest, and I have different overlays and different configurations. I can have up to 10 guests directly into Restream. You'll notice I got my logo up here. I got the Eaton logo up there. I've got your note down here, and I can hide that. And then it's supposed to put my my lower thirds on. So welcome to TD Unplugged. And I know there is a configuration tool that I can display my name on there, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to edit that. But in any case, I am using something. It's pretty cool. So yeah, so um, what they're doing is they're not using OBS, and you know what it does? It takes a lot of work off of your computer because you don't need another software application. I don't need to design screens, but you're stuck with whatever they give you. That's the only challenge that you have in this. And I was going to use this for my interview today with Rudy Garza, so I'm going to have Rudy Garza on the IAEI News live station today. I am, I am. I'm becoming. I'm getting smarter. That's all. You know what it is? It's trouble. Yeah, and I learned something yesterday, Niad. I had Brad Nana. Uh, I have this camera here. I've got a D5600. All right, so I've got a Nikon. Um, I have a Nikon D5600. I'm not sure if you can zoom. If I can zoom in on that, it's tough. There it is. You can't really see it, but it's a D5600. So I wanted to use this as a web cam because it's got a nice 50 millimeter lens on it, and it's a prime lens, so it blurs out the background. So I had Brad Nana in, and we were up at our experience center, and so what I did was I came straight out of this with an HDMI, came into the computer, turned on OBS, and I just started recording. Well, this thing shuts off after about 10 minutes. And I'm not sure why. It just automatically shuts off. And then I started doing some homework, and they said, well, if you want to use it as a webcam, then you need to download this other software and all this other jazz. So then I came back home because I knew I tried it, and I tried this. This is a Sony. This is all part of the learning experience. This is a Sony A6000. Where's the number at? It's an A6000. I don't even know. There it is. That's at the top. Okay, so that's a Sony Alpha 6000. Right over here is the model, and I mean it's not. It's a relatively inexpensive camera. So I set it up upstairs, and I'll tell you what, it ran for like 40, 50 minutes. I just let it run, and I recorded through OBS. I come out of the camera, and I use this HDMI video capture card, and which is USB on one side, HDMI on the other, and then I go in and I have the extension cord, and I plug that into my computer to use it as a webcam. Works fine. So this works like a charm, and this big hunk of burning love doesn't do what I need it to do. So I'm back over to the. I love the. I'm falling in love with the Sony products. I really am. From a camera perspective, and especially video. From a video perspective, but I've taken photos with this thing, and it does great. So anyway, that's all part of the learning experience, and I learned this yesterday. So my video, it would cut out every 10 minutes, and I had to have somebody go over and click a little button on the camera to get it restarted. So in any case, but I got some good video footage from that. That's for Shock Week, and you and I have to record our Shock Week too. So anyway, but back to 220.5. 220.5e, it says load calculations shall not require continuous loads to be calculated at 125%. So, and I get it. When I'm doing a load calculation, now we put an informational note that says, you gotta love this, and I don't know how we missed this, Niad. It says load calculations shall not require continuous loads to be calculated. But then the informational note says a 125% multiplier could be required for reasons other than continuous loads. So you can't say it shall not require, and then in the informational note say it could be required. So what it's basically telling you is, hey, you know what? So what? It could be required, but you can't do it because we have this language. So E needs work or just deleted. But this is the road that E took me down. E took me down a road of looking at the language that's over in 220.42. If I scroll down to 220.42, we have a note that says the 125% multiplier for a continuous load as specified in 210.20a is included. Therefore, no additional multipliers are required when using the unit loads in this table for calculating the minimum lighting load for a specified occupancy. Well, that's a correlation issue with what's in 220.5 E. Oh, you got Ian. So Nihad says he's headed to Ian CPS in Vegas on Saturday morning. Well, if you're in Vegas, that means you're 3 hours behind me. I think you're 3 hours behind me. We can get our Shock Week recording towards the end of the week. Of this week, I'm down in Atlanta, Georgia, so I leave tomorrow for Atlanta. It's going to be tight, Nihad. It's going to be tight. But in any case, so I went down the road of 220.42. Is it 42? 220.42, the note. So the note definitely conflicts with what we have in 220.5. So the note definitely conflicts with what's in 220.5. So that needs to be addressed. That's a correlating issue. So that's the first area of I think that we have to take a look at, and we will for the second draft. Now, or at least I will, and I'll probably pull a team together because I think we need to look at the broader scope of Article 220. We've got more items to address in 220. So the other challenge. So take a look at 220.5E. I'd love to have anybody out there who does load calculations. I'd love to have your opinion. I ran that by a few people that I know who do load calculations. Well, one person who I think is a rock star on load calculations, Mr. John McCamish. And John and I had a really interesting discussion. If you don't know John McCamish, you need to know John McCamish. John is a sharp cookie when it comes to load calculations, especially. And so he and I had a really interesting discussion and debate on this whole topic. And so I would love to have your opinion on that topic of the load calculations and how you do continuous loads. Because here's the issue that you have in 215. Remember, we said 215. Now, remember, if we in 215.2, 215.2, let me pull up NFPA link again. So 215.2 says, this is the minimum rating. It says feeder conductors. So it doesn't point back to 220, which is a good thing because 220. All right, so I don't have the conflict. 215 does not, Article 215, Section 215.2, minimum rating and size, does not point me back to Article 220, which is a good thing. And so I agree with you, Niad. I agree 100%. He's the He is the exception to the rule. He's the expert, in my opinion. So the feeder calculation, it says where a feeder supplies continuous loads or any combination. So I have to put the 125 in, I have to take the 125 out. And then we already said that in 215.3, it tells me that my overcurrent protective device cannot be less than 125% of the current, right? So regardless of what you do in 225.2 for the minimum conductor size, I still, if my conductor size ampacity, what's it say in 215.3? 215.3 says where a feeder supplies continuous loads or any combination of continuous and non-continuous, the rating of the overcurrent device should not be less than the non-continuous load plus 125% of the continuous load. So you got to make sure that you are greater than 125% of that continuous load in 215.3 for the overcurrent protective device, because that's how we test them in UL 489 and for fuses 248. I think that's the standard for fuses. So in any case, the 125% is a point of discussion that will need to be reckoned with. And we need, it needs, and in my opinion, what we did in 220 needs attention. Now, in 215, we don't point back to 220, so that is a good thing. Because if we did point back to 220, I'd have a conflict. So for feeder sizes, I don't necessarily have an issue. I'm putting my stuff away. This is what you should always do. After you get done, you should always put your stuff away. So I'm putting, this is the power supply, it goes in for, there we go. So in 215.2, we discussed the minimum the conductor size, and then in 215.3, we make sure we have the 125%. So then the question comes, what's the load calculation really doing? If I want to know my total load, I wouldn't include, the 125% is not there for any other reason. Well, you may have 125% in other areas of the code, maybe chapter 4 around motors, etc. But in the case of a feeder and feeder protection, that 125% is there only for the overcurrent protective device. And 125 and that 125% because of how we test that overcurrent protective device. So in my load calculation, if I want to calculate the load and not do 125%, what do I use that number for? I can't use it for anything. If I'm going to do a load calculation, I'm probably sizing a feeder or equipment, and the equipment's going to have overcurrent protective devices, and they all have to, and if the moment you throw an overcurrent protective device in the picture, you need the 125%, it's a really good question. And then it takes me back to asking another question. What's the purpose of Article 220? The scope of 220 says, the article provides requirements for calculating branch circuit, feeder, and service loads. Well, if I'm going to calculate a branch circuit and a feeder load especially, I need the 125% for continuous loads. Now, service loads are a little different. If I go to Article 230, oh, maybe they're not different. 230 dot, there's the overhead service conductors, size and ampacity. And what it says, so this one says conductors shall have a sufficient ampacity to carry the current for the load as calculated in accordance with parts 2 through 5. Now the 220.5E is in part 1, so you wouldn't be following that for part 1 because it points to 2 through 5 specifically. But there's no 125% and all that jazz that we do. Service entrance conductors in part 4 minimum size ampacity, that's 230.42. It does have the continuous and non-continuous, and what it says, that the loads shall be determined in accordance with parts 3, 4, or 5 of Article 220 as applicable. So again, it doesn't point to part 1, which includes the 220.5E. And it says the max. So, and it tells you to do the continuous and the non-continuous, and then this is all sizing and of the service entrance conductors. And now there's no language in Article 230 that says that the overcurrent device has to be 125% of the continuous loads. And it's not in Article 240 either. So in 230, I don't have to make sure that my overcurrent protective device, my service overcurrent protective device, is at least 125% of the calculated load for the service. It is in Article 215 and Article 210. So those feeder breakers and branch circuits that might be in that panel board, that service equipment, would still have to follow the applicable requirements that I don't exceed 100. I don't have less, that my continuous loads do not exceed 125% on a overcurrent protected device. But I think we could use some help in Article 220. So if you are a load calculation person, guru out there, and you understand and you love to work with doing load calculations, we could use your help in on panel 2, especially around Article 220 for load calculations. If you have opinions on those, please reach out to me. You know my website. I'll throw that up again. I'll put up a QR code for check out my website. My contact information is out there on thomasdimitrovich.com. You can send me a note if you would like to, if you're interested in getting involved with that whole discussion. I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. So please don't forget to do that. So I have the link for IAEI News Live down below, up above, left or right, depending upon what platform you're watching this on. Please check it out at 12 o'clock Eastern today. I will be interviewing live Mr. Rudy Garza, and Rudy and I are going to chat about IAEI and all of the great things that have happened over this 2024 and some of the latest changes that have occurred, some great information that I think you might find of interest. So look forward to seeing you today live at 12 o'clock Eastern on IAEI News Live. All right, so check out the link down below, and see you there. If you have any questions about Article 220, please let me know. If you have any input on especially around how we deal with continuous and non-continuous loads and how that relates to Article 220 load calculations. All right, that's all I got for today for Tech Tuesday. Check out IAEI News Live at 12 o'clock Eastern. Look forward to seeing all of you online. We're going to have a great discussion. Now I have to figure out how to close out of this. Because again, Nihad, I used something a little different. How do I do this? I go to design. No, QR codes. I got music. I don't want music. I got the QR codes. I got captions. That's not going to do it. I have the little bar that goes down the bottom, which is not showing. Huh. There's my brand folder. All right. Design. Oh, I'll play the advertisement. That was cool. All right, everybody. I'm heading out. Thanks for joining in for the short time here. Take care, and we will see you soon. All right. I'm going to end my stream. Wish I had an end screen. I'm out of here.